I'm a junior Navy lieutenant in Charleston, South Carolina, 5 months into my 6-month tour at Nuclear Power School. It's a Wednesday night, and I'm on my way to meet my classmate Ed, who needs a wingman for a double date, where he's asked a friend of his named Daphne to set him up with a friend of hers that he's interested in. I arrive at the restaurant where we're meeting up for dinner, walk in and see a circular booth straight ahead where I see Ed seated to the left, Daphne in the middle, and whoa, some hottie to the right. And it's not the girl that Ed's there to meet. Apparently it's some other friend of Daphne's. She invited along last minute. So, okay, don't stare. I mean, of course I'm staring, but don't make it obvious for guys. So, obviously I can't sit next to her, because how obvious would that be? So, I'm gonna sit next to Ed. Okay, good move. Well, not for Ed, who's now surrounded, so when the girl he's interested in gets there, he's stuck between me and Daphne, but that's an Ed problem. All right, so how do I stay low-key, but not so low-key that she doesn't notice me? So you might assume I would just use my sheer good looks, but I have a plan. I have a secret weapon. I'm going to use humor, mostly in the form of bad puns and wordplay. But what I don't realize is she has the perfect defense, which is that she is primarily a Spanish speaker. Now, don't get me wrong, she knows enough English to get by, but my linguistic humor doesn't really seem to be impressing her that much. And to be fair, it's probably not impressing the other people. So at some point, a number of people get up to use the restroom. So I make my move, right? Because my corny jokes are just not really landing from across the table. So I sit right next to Viviana, and we spend the next few hours, despite the language barrier, making conversation like the rest of the night. So at some point, I say to her, "So what do you do?" And she says, "I'm a dentist." Now, obviously, she's not a dentist. Dentists are old guys with white hair. So it must be a language barrier issue. So, do you mean dental assistant? No, I'm a dentist. Wow. So she's not just gorgeous, but she's also smart and successful. Damn, too bad she's just visiting from Colombia, because she's the kind of girl I'd want to marry. But I'm leaving Charleston in a month, and she's leaving the US a month after that. So obviously the odds are not in my favor. But nonetheless, I roll the dice and ask her out on a date. And she accepts. So for the next 3 weeks, we spend virtually every chance we have together. Then, with my time in Charleston almost over, we suddenly find ourselves in an evacuation order as Hurricane Floyd is making its way up the East Coast. Lucky for me, she accepts my invitation among a number of invitations that she received to evacuate, along with me to my brother's house, who's living in Atlanta at the time. So 12 hellish hours of driving and 1 Waffle House stop later, we arrive at his place. And at some point during our 3 days there, we end up just stumbling into this conversation about, what are we doing here? Suddenly it feels like the whole world just disappears, and it's just the two of us, face to face in my brother's guest room. It's so quiet, it feels like I'm in one of those sound booths where they test your hearing. So I tell her, well, honestly, the night we met, I was thinking you're the kind of girl I'd like to marry, but I'm in the Navy here for at least the next 5 years, so I clearly can't move to Colombia. And you're a dentist in Colombia, so I don't know how you feel about moving to the US. Now, keep in mind, neither one of us ever makes quick decisions about anything, let alone big things. And here we are 3 weeks after we met, talking crazy talk. Plus, she has an on-again, off-again boyfriend in Colombia who's also a dentist. So I'm thinking her path is pretty well set, and she's going to say, no way. I don't know, she says, maybe. So that was not a no. So a week later, I'm off for the rest of my nuclear power training in New York State, where we talk every day by phone. And the day before she's scheduled to go back to Colombia, we make it official. She says, "Are you serious about this?" And I said, "Yes, I am." So the next day, she goes home to Columbia to break the news to her family, and I start trying to figure out how I'm going to learn about the immigration process in my non-existent free time at Power School. We come up with a plan that we're going to bring her up on either a fiance visa or a work visa, and then we'll figure out the whole marriage thing somewhere down the road. So I find an immigration attorney, and I bounce the plan off of him, and he offers a free consultation. He says, sounds good. So, great. Then I think to myself, I wonder if I should also get an opinion from the attorney who charges for his time. So I do, and of course he disagrees with the plan and says, no, you should really do a fiance visa. Now the catch with the fiance visa is you have 90 days to get married when you enter the country. So this was definitely not the timeline we had in mind, but okay, buckle up. So a month after I leave New York, and 2 weeks after I get to the aircraft carrier where I'm going to spend the next 2 years, Viviana arrives. Shipboard life is just chaos, and I'm the new guy on board, but they generously give me 1 whole day off so that we can take a long weekend to get married. So a few Friday evenings later, we find ourselves in line, a very, very long line, at 10 o'clock at night outside of the Las Vegas City Hall to get our marriage license. And the next day, we're tying the knot on the strip. Our relationship up to this point honestly felt a little bit like a fairy tale. And as if to prove that point, there was a little girl in the lobby of the Bellagio who spotted Viviana in her wedding dress and said to her mom, "Mommy, can I take a picture with Cinderella?" And Cinderella happily granted her that wish. But maybe the craziest part of our story was that we honestly barely knew each other when we got married. We are not impulsive people, and we are definitely not gamblers. We literally gambled $1 during our weekend in Vegas, and that was a single pull on a $1 slot machine. But our bet on each other paid off, as you can see by Viviana, who's sitting over there with our kids, Catalina and Matthew. So we took our chips and cashed out. And less than 6 weeks from today, we will celebrate 25 years. Since we took that gamble and said I do.